NFL's divisional round is coming on. 4 games with 8 teams, with only 4 teams moving on. I'd say it was a lot better than Wild Card Weekend. You're watching the B&E Podcast presented by Premium. Ed, what's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Another day in paradise. Um,
Yep.
like you said, it was definitely a better week of football, and I'm ready to get into it. Let's
For
get
sure.
this opening drive out the way first, shall we? All right. The Lions have added former Eagles and Cardinals tight end Zach Ertz ahead of the NFC Championship. The Jaguars have hired former Falcons defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen to serve as their defensive play caller. The Bears have hired Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. The Panthers have hired Dan Morgan as their new GM slash head of operations. I believe it was yesterday that the Eagles fired their defensive coordinator, Sean Desai. The decision was made by head coach Nick Sirianni. And former head coach of the Commanders, Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, has interviewed with the Eagles for their vacant DC opening. Good luck to them and Ron.
Yeah. I know an Eagles fan that's a little bit excited about that potential hire. He said, Rivera was definitely a better uh, defensive coordinator than he was a head coach. So we'll see how it goes if he lands the job.
We'll definitely see how it goes. Yes, we will.
All right, everyone. The Ravens, they'll host the AFC Championship for the first time in franchise history after a big win over the Texans Saturday afternoon in Charm City. Texans fans, you're not far off, y'all. Just got to get that off the top, y'all. Young, talented team, young, fiery head coach. Your GM's pretty good. He came from New England. He's turned that organization around between him and the head coach. And of course, that quarterback there, pretty much offensive rookie of the year, without a doubt. They get some offensive line help and probably a guy or two in the secondary, and they'll be okay, in my opinion. As for the game, start off as a defensive battle. Only difference was that Houston committed, they had several false starts um, and, pre-snap penalties there in the first half, but then they responded with the punt return for the touchdown. I texted you. I said that burns me up. The special teams coordinator is our head coach. It drives me crazy whenever somebody returns a punt or a touchdown against us. But went into halftime even 10-10. Lamar and Ronnie Stanley left the field just before halftime. It probably was like 10, 15 seconds on the clock or less. Um, I'm used to it with Ronnie. I didn't know what was going on. You just kind of figured they was just going to get in there, the game plan early, before the other guys get in there. But apparently LJ made some emotional speech at halftime, and they think that kind of fueled the guys in the second half. He came out and he basically carried the team in the second half. We had that opening drive, went 55 yards for the rush touchdown, LJ there. Then he hit Isaiah Likely in the fourth quarter for a touchdown, and he sealed the win with another rush touchdown throughout that second half. And honestly, for most of the game, they had no answer for our run game. Um, that's something that, we stride or, we take pride in is running the ball. And they, again, they really couldn't answer defensively. I would say my only complaint was that idiotic challenge by John Harbaugh. I know we was texting about that as well. Late in the game, we had nothing to lose, but it's like, come on, man. That was clearly a catch by the Houston receiver. Um, just waste of time out. And my fear is that, whether it's the AFC Championship or if we win it and head to the Super Bowl, he's going to do something stupid like that again because he tends to do it every 3 to 4 weeks. He'll have some sort of idiotic call or he'll throw that challenge flag when he knows there's not a chance he's going to win it. It drives me crazy. He did a lot a couple years ago. He slowed down, but it's still there. It's like, come on, we already won this game. Why do that? You know what I'm saying? But I honestly think he forgets to take his Flintstone vitamins sometimes because it's just I don't know. Yeah. But and my other complaint was that we were unable to get the CJ Stroud. I mean, we had I think 60 sacks on the season, led the
hmm
NFL by far, and this guy was just able to play after play, elude our pass rush, and make plays. But luckily, we stopped them when it needed to be the most. You know what I'm saying? We've always been a team to give up a lot between the 20s, and then we get down in that red zone and we clamp down. This game, it was like from the 40, inside the 40, they couldn't really move the ball on us. So great win in the end. Now, in the words of my guy Bill Belichick, we're on to Kansas City.
Yeah, for real. Nah, you covered everything, man. Like you said, with those false starts, that I wasn't expecting y'all crowd to play such a factor,
Yeah.
but it certainly looked like it affected the Texans because they had more penalties than they had points. Now it was only 11 penalties, not only, but 11 penalties of their 10 points, but still it
Mhm.
seemed like the O line was definitely affected, as you mentioned, those false starts. And then a running game, like you said, Lamar Jackson, he contributed for 100 yards on his own. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, he had a big game. We saw a sighting from Dalvin Cook. I said to you,
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a little bit more important in these games coming up. I think because when he played with Minnesota, he was really good as a running back out the backfield catching the ball. I
Yep.
think if y'all utilize him like that, he could definitely do some damage against the Chiefs. But we'll see. We'll talk about that more later in the week for that preview. But back to this game, man. Yeah, like you said, Lamar Jackson came in the halftime. I think he cursed him out because they asked him what he said, and
Mhm.
he said it wasn't suitable for TV or something like that. So
Yeah.
he definitely lit a fire into the offense. That defense, I got to give the hats off of them because they did not allow a touchdown. Like you said, the touchdown happened on the punt return or the special teams play. So shout out to that defense. They did not get a sack on Stroud. I texted you, I was like, y'all need to get
Yeah.
pressure on him and hit his ass, get him on the field, knock him on the field. You did get a sack on him, but y'all were pressuring him. I mean, he had to get out of the pocket and make extend the play with his legs a little bit, try to get the ball down the field. But y'all, like you said, you didn't get a sack, but y'all were definitely pressuring him for sure.
Yep.
Um, this is just a great win for you guys. That first half, I was kind of nervous. I want y'all to win. I want y'all to go to the Super Bowl and all that win. Because that first half, I was like, damn, this is game. I don't know, man. Y'all let them hang around. We'll see what happens in that second half. Lamar, he lit a fire into the offense, and the whole team just kind of put the switch and
Yep.
made sure that the Texans pretty much didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't score a point in the second half. So great game. That defense for sure was great. Lamar was amazing. Definitely MVP of the team. We'll see if he'll get MVP for the overall NFL, but definitely a great win for you guys. And looking forward to this game next week against the Chiefs in
Yep.
that conference championship. All right, let's talk about these NFC matchup. We had the Packers at the 49ers. This was a game I thought the 49ers would win, but I was hoping the Green Bay Packers would win. And for a moment there, it looked like Green Bay was going to pull it out, but in the end, 49ers, Brock Purdy, I think he did himself some favors. A lot of people still aren't sold on him, but he did come back. He did bring them back, the 49ers. I mean, back and win the game. He kind of had a late game drive, got them in touchdown scoring position, and they were able to win the game. Jordan Love, man, I know he's going to kick himself for that late game interception he threw to kind of sealed it. They always say never throw it against your body, don't throw it into the middle of the field, and that's exactly what he did. Kind of reminds you of Brett Favre back in the day. He did it plenty of times with the Packers, and he did it again with Minnesota to end his
Yep.
career, if I'm not mistaken. It kind of reminded me of that, but I do think the Packers got their quarterback of the future. I said that after the game last week against the Cowboys. I thought this game would be a little bit harder for him, but he played pretty good. He did throw 2 interceptions, so he wasn't perfect, but he did play pretty good. And I'm pretty sure the Packers are going to give him a big deal. I think they're comfortable with him being a quarterback of the future. But yeah, I think they'll have some more playoff runs in their future. But back to the Niners, man. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, another great game for him. He had 2 touchdowns. George Kittle, I didn't really see too much for him during the season, but I guess he did do a lot because I think he made the Pro Bowl if I'm not mistaken, and he had himself a decent game. He had 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown too. Juan Jennings, excuse me. He made some pretty nice catches from Brock Purdy. I was kind of surprised to see more of him. I guess that was because Debo Samuel went out early in that game. He has a shoulder injury, and right now they're saying he's 50-50 for him to play in a conference championship. They're definitely going to need him to play if they want any chance to win that next game against the Lions. But yeah, overall, this was a good game, back and forth affair for the most part. And then Brock Purdy, I think this solidifies him as a good quarterback. I was kind of like, he's a system guy. I don't know. He's got a lot of weapons around him, but I think, you know, he's going back to a second straight conference championship. I think this solidifies him as a pretty good quarterback in the league. But what did you think about this game, man?
Yeah, I made it very clear that C-Mac was going to be an X factor heading into this one in our preview show. Um, I mentioned that Green Bay should have had pictures of him all around their facility, like
You
he
did
was
say
America's
that.
Most Wanted. And I think they learned firsthand. 98 rush yards. You mentioned 2 touchdowns. He had another 30 yards through the air. And you mentioned Kittle. We all knew he was going to get his as well. But the main difference to me in this game was that Brock, he didn't turn the ball over. His
Hmm.
throws were a little bit all over the place there for a while, but he protected the ball. And that, compared to the guy on the other side of the field, um, Jordan Love, he's the real deal in my opinion. You mentioned Green Bay has their quarterback of the future. Um, I texted you and said that you could tell that he was in that same quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers because he had a second quarter throw to Romeo Dobbs. It was down in the red zone. It ended up leading to a field goal. It was right on the left hash marks, and he just put it in there like it was nothing. And it was vintage Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. But you know, Love couldn't protect the ball, and that ultimately costed them the game, in my opinion. San Fran, they did what was expected of them, though. They understood the assignment for sure. Beat the number 7 seed in their house, there at Levi Stadium. I was a bit concerned, and I'm a little bit concerned with the San Fran defense after this one. Maybe it was just a little bit of rust. I don't know. Having that week off, but they let Green Bay go up and down the field early on, and they honestly looked a little bit tired, in my opinion. Um, Aaron Jones coming off that monster game against Dallas, he had another pretty good game. So,
Yeah.
um, and now you welcome in a Detroit team that's clicking on all cylinders. They can run the ball, they can throw it across the yard. So, San Fran might want to get it together. Steve Wilkes and company, those guys out there, Greenlaw and all of them. Despite the game that Greenlaw had, great game he had. Um, Definitely want to clean some things up before Sunday on the defensive side of the ball. But pretty good game, really good game.
Yeah, before we move on, I do want to note there was a little bit of controversy with the kicker for Green Bay. I think Matt LaFleur said something like a production meeting, like every time he gets on the field, he just prays. I think he said that in more of a joking manner, but after he actually missed the field goal, I can see how people could take that sort of way and create some controversy. Also, I was looking to see Chase Young. I said last week, maybe he'll turn into a all pro Hall of Famer out there. He pretty relatively quiet game. He was on the
Yeah,
stat sheet. He had 3 tackles, but didn't have any sacks. He was getting near the quarterback, but he didn't really do too much in my opinion. So I'm gonna keep my
correct.
eye on him and see if he makes more noise next week.
That's for sure. All right, before we get into the Sunday games, this episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD and wellness company. Check out their full line of CBD infused products, which make great stocking stuffers for the upcoming holiday season. Perfect for athletes, weekend warriors, and soccer moms, and even armchair quarterbacks. They have CBD infused honey, which is a personal favorite, as well as tinctures and mint and regular flavor. Most importantly, they are veteran and women owned, so come get some of this sweet temptation and taste the premium difference. Use code B&E for 15% off your order. Their website is www.premium.com. That's PREHEMIUM.com. Again, PREHEMIUM.com. Now back to our show. Ed, the Lions are headed back to the NFC Championship. They handled the Bucks Sunday afternoon at Ford Field. Uh, they're headed to the NFC Championship. I didn't see much of this game at all. So tell me what happened.
Yeah, in our preview show, I thought the Lions would win. I said I trusted Jared Goff a little bit more than Baker Mayfield, and I thought Baker Mayfield would probably have some turnovers, and that pretty much happened. I mean, let me give my hats off to Baker Mayfield though. He did throw for 349 yards and 3 touchdowns. Him and Mike Evans been electric all season. Side note: Mike Evans is a free agent now. Tampa Bay, do the right thing. Give the guy a contract. He said he wants to stay with the Bucks. I mean, he's put up stats with all the
Yeah.
quarterbacks he had. He's won a Super Bowl. He deserves to be a Buck for life, but we'll see what happens on that. But back to the game though. Yeah, there's a little a beef between the Lions and the Bucks before the games. I know CJ Gardner Johnson made some comments about the Bucks have some great receivers, but their quarterback play needs to be a little bit better. They need a better quarterback. And Baker Mayfield was like, "Yeah, well, you need to watch film because one of the guys you mentioned hasn't even played for us in a while." So going into the game, CJ Gardner Johnson, I think he got his get back because he did pick
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield off the first time. Was a tip pass. Mike Evans tipped the ball and it fell into Gardner Johnson's hands. He ran over. I think he got like a 10, maybe 15-yard return, something like that. He got pushed out on the Buccaneers sideline, and as Baker Mayfield was coming off the field to the sideline, Gardner Johnson threw the ball up to him, like here you go as a memento or something. He kind of said something about it after the game too. So definitely going to see if that's a rivalry that happens in the future, or CJ Gardner Johnson killed the beef right there. But back to this game though, man. Yeah, this was a really good game. I got to give it to a little bit of credit to the Buccaneers, man. They for the most part, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they didn't do too much damage except for that long run that Jahmyr Gibbs had. We broke it. Had a nice cut against Antoine Winfield, just broke it in the end zone. I mean, this dude, I think next season, I don't know, man. I think he's gonna be real good. Jared Goff had himself a good game. Another game, no turnovers, didn't have any interceptions, had 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, just keeps on doing his thing. Sam Laporta, I think he's getting healthy and healthier. He had that knee injury to end the season. I'm surprised he even played. It looked like he blew his knee out from the because his knee bent in a weird way at the end of the season. But he was able to play last week, and he played this week as well. He had 9 receptions for 65 yards. So I mean, the Lions did their thing on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. I was a little surprised that Baker Mayfield was able to throw for 349 and 3 touchdowns, but they did force 2 interceptions out of him, and they got that game-sealing interception to end the game. I'm trying to remember the guy who did it. Derek Barnes was the guy who picked them off. And when the Bucks got the ball back, I kind of had a feeling. I was like, I just don't know why, but I feel like something's going to happen, and the Baker Mayfield is going to throw a pick. I didn't want it to happen. I just had a feeling like, and
Yeah.
damn, that's exactly what happened. So I know that stung for Baker Mayfield. As soon as he threw the pick, he kind of put his hands down, put his hands in his helmet. It's like, oh my God. I kind of felt a little bad for him. And then there was this whole thing at the end of the game where the Lions, they snapped the ball with about 38 seconds left. They were in victory formation, just kneeling down. The Bucks could have called a timeout. They had a timeout left. They could have forced the Lions to kick a field goal and see if they missed and potentially have a chance to get the ball back. They asked Todd Bowles about that after the game. He was like, I didn't want to prolong the obvious state. He thought they were clearly going to lose. So he's kind of catching some flack for that. But, I don't know, man. Tough loss for the Bucks. Didn't get really too much out of the running game. Rashad White, he only had 55 yards rushing, but he only carried the ball 9 times. So I don't know. Mike was a monster game. 8 receptions,
Yep.
147 yards, had that touchdown. Great throw from Baker and great catch from Mike Evans. So I don't know if they can replicate this next year. I think they kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. I do think Baker, earned himself another contract. I kind of texted you. We were talking about a little bit what they're going to do next season. I don't know if they'll give him the contract. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to franchise tag him or something, but we'll see what happens though. But yeah, overall, this was a really good game, man. Was surprised that the Bucks made it as much as a game they did. I thought it would be a good game, but I didn't think. I thought the score would be like 34-24 or something like that. I didn't think the Bucks would have a chance in the end to win it, but yeah, it was a good game. What'd you think of the game though?
Yeah, you pretty much covered all the bases. It was all good there until the fourth quarter. Besides that, that interception right before half. Remember you texted me saying Big kind of cost them the game. Two interceptions, both into each half. But you got to continue to give credit to Mike Evans. I had that same note. Besides Tom Brady, he's always had to play with mediocre quarterbacks and had 1,000 yards in each season. So yeah, they got some decisions to make with him. Um, like we said, it's kind of obvious that he should be back in Tampa, but maybe they should let him go and try to pursue another championship elsewhere because it doesn't seem like the Bucks are in that category right now. Um, I feel like they lost the game though in the trenches. Detroit, they're one of the best goal line run offenses in the league since Dan Campbell took over. Craig Williams had a 1 yard touchdown there in the third quarter, and then you had the even punch of Gibbs and Montgomery. They weren't exactly as flashy as they normally are, but they were ground and pound when they needed it the most. You mentioned that Lions defense. I've been concerned with them since last season, um, but all in all, when you win the turnover battle and you get the quarterback down multiple times, it's a win. Bake was taken down 4 times, and of course the 2 interceptions that he tossed. Um, so as odd as it sounds, Detroit 1 game away from a Super Bowl. So much congratulations to the Lions fans. I know it's been a long road for y'all to get back here. 0 and 16, 2 and 14, 1 and 15, all that kind of, so it's been bad. So yeah, congratulations to them. 2 straight, very good seasons. Um, and best of luck in the NFC Championship game. All right.
For sure.
Chiefs and Bills, final game of divisional weekend. Say it ain't so. The Chiefs beat the Bills again in the postseason under Mahomes. This time, though, it was at Highmark Stadium in front of the Bills home crowd. Final score was 27-24. We all know I don't like the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but I certainly respect him. uh, but honest speaking here, we can't deny the fact that they got lucky at the end. I always mention that strange things happen in Kansas City, but now it's like it just happens whoever plays the Chiefs, man. You mentioned the threat of Isaiah Pacheco on Friday. Um, he certainly was a difference maker for his team. It's crazy because I remember when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was like, damn, they got another playmaker. He hasn't necessarily lived up to his expectations, in my opinion. He's been banged up a little bit, but now they got Pacheco. He kind of reminds me of a black Christian McCaffrey. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run downhill. He can make all types of plays. I just think he's not on that 100% on that stature yet as Christian McCaffrey. But the Bills had a great offensive game plan, it looked like, against the stout Kansas City defense. They had no answer for that Buffalo run game, but the Chiefs still left town with the win. But as for Buffalo fans, because we're both sponsored by M&T Bank, so I could speak to them directly. Um, y'all had a hell of a turnaround after firing your offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. I think it was sometime around week 5 or 6. My Ravens have been there before. We had the 2010 AFC Championship where Billy Cundiff missed the field goal in New England against Patriots. And then just a couple years ago, we had Justin Tucker miss a pair of field goals um, against the Bills there at Highmark. So we know what it's like to have a kicker miss field goals. The Cowboys know what it's like to have kicker miss a bunch of field goals just last year. So, yeah, they'll be all right. I think, I know some people have been saying the past couple of years, is the window closing for them? I guess that's kind of to be determined. It's always like they need a running back. They need a running back. They need a running back. But, I think they had a lot of injuries on defense that played a
Mm-hmm.
factor in this game as well. I would love to see them at full strength to play this game because it finally seemed like this was going to be the year that they beat the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? The Chiefs have had receivers dropping balls all over the place. Patrick Mahomes hasn't necessarily had his best season, despite the fact that the defense is playing good. But then you come out and, what I'm saying, who knows what would happen in overtime, but, it is what it is. So now we got to deal with another AFC championship with these guys and Taylor Swift now. and apparently now Jason Kelsey is a part of the craziness with um, the Mahomes era of people at those games. So yeah, what about this game? You noticed?
It's funny you mentioned Taylor Swift. There's a clip that I've seen a few times, but like Taylor Swift was hugging Patrick Mahomes' wife. You can see Patrick Mahomes' dad looking back like, what the hell is going on? Because it looks like they were screaming and like celebrating and stuff, whatever play that happened. But that was a funny moment. But yeah, you talked about the Chiefs receiver dropping passes. I got to give a shout out to a couple of guys. MVS Marquez Valdez Scantling, excuse me. He had two big catches. They were pretty high difficulty catches in my opinion. I mean, he had hands of stone earlier in the season, dropping everything that was thrown to him, but he definitely stepped up. Travis Kelsey, I don't know. I was watching or listening to the Let's Go podcast with Jim Gray and Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was like, "How the hell is Travis Kelsey still getting so open and he's got all these touchdowns?" I believe Mahomes and Kelsey broke the record for most touchdowns between two guys that was previously held by Brady and Gronk. I think they got like 15 or 16 now, or whatever. I think the previous record was like either 14 or 15. So another record in the books for the Mahomes and the Chiefs and those guys. But yeah, man, back to this game. You talk about the kicker Tyler Bass. I was watching this game at the Yard House with a coworker. And as soon as he was about to kick the ball, I noticed how the wind was blowing. You see the flags on the goal because I was like, he better make this kick, man. Something about it. I was like, and then it was like the wind took it, like destiny. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But he missed the kick. I was like, damn. And it was just from there, I was like, yep, Chiefs are back in it. You talk about Pacheco, he definitely had an impact. Y'all better shut him down next week. CEH, he didn't really do too much, but he had one big play, 28-yard rush. He only had two rushes, two carries for 31 yards, but one of his carries went for 28 yards. But yeah, man, Rashid Rice, I think next year he's a rookie this year. I think next year he'll probably have a breakout season. I think he's going to be the number one option as far as receivers. I mean, as long as Kelsey's there, he's going to be the number one option. But
Yeah,
I think we're starting to see a little bit of decline. Age, attrition, injuries, all that stuff starting to add up. I think going forward, Rashid Rice is probably going to be the top guy in the receiving backfield. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, man. Stephon Diggs kind of catching some flack. Everybody I know driving to work today, I was listening to Get Up, and they're talking about how Josh Allen played, and Dan Orlovsky was like he made a terrific throw. It was in the wind, 65 yards in the air, and Stephon Diggs just dropped it. I was like, yeah, he kind of did, but at the same time, you watch that play. Stephon Diggs kind of had to wait for the ball and gave the defender a chance to do it just a little bit enough to break up the play. I do think Diggs could have catch it, but it was high degree of difficulty to make that catch. So I don't want to give too much blame to Stephon Diggs. Maybe I'm a little biased because he's a Maryland guy. I always support
yeah,
athletes out of Maryland. But
yeah,
yeah, man, Stephon Diggs, I don't know if we'll see too much more of him. All throughout the season. I think a little bit last season as well. People talk about Stephon Diggs and how he's upset with the offense and everything. So I don't know. This might be the last we see of Stephon Diggs. We'll see how that ends up. But back to that Chiefs defense, when they had to make a play, they pretty much did. In the first half, it looked like Josh Allen might have did what Lamar did and rushed for 100 yards, but it seems like they were able to finally contain him a little bit. I think they spied him a little bit more in the second half. He still had 72 yards rushing, I believe, but I thought he would do a little bit more damage from the way he was going in that first half. I honestly thought he was going to pull off one of those big runs like he did against the Steelers, where he ran for like 50 yards and a touchdown. But the Chiefs were able to keep him under control for the most part. They kept everything in front of them. They didn't have too many big plays. I do think they missed Gabe Davis, though. They're a wide receiver.
yeah.
I think if he was out there, that offense would have opened up a little bit more. And who knows, maybe the Bills would be heading to the conference championships. But like you said, I do want to see them at full strength. You talk about Matt Milano. He was
Mhm.
out. Terrell Bernard, he was out. Another one of the linebackers. Just an injury-riddled team. But in the end, I mean, they still put up a great fight. So salute to the Bills. I don't like. I don't like them throwing the snowballs. People talk about players need to have more sportsmanship and be nice and stuff like that. I didn't seeing it was kind of funny at first, but after a while, I was like, all right, come on, man, y'all gotta security do
That's
something because
something they do a lot there.
it's like now somebody would have tried to go up in the crowd and try to fight somebody, and that'd be a whole
Mhm.
nother story. Of, oh, players gotta have self control, but come on, man, these fans a lot of these times it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit with stuff that fans can get away with in the crowds. I know they be saying a lot of wild stuff too, but throwing the snowballs, Patrick Mahomes try to go over to the crowd and say what's up to the Chiefs fans. They trying to tag his ass in snowball. I was like, God damn, man. Now if somebody would throw a snowball back, then it's all the players saw it and the fans a victim and this and that. So I don't know. That part I didn't like, but yeah, this I think this is probably the best game of the division round in my opinion. The closest anyway, for sure.
Yeah, a
But yeah,
couple quick points. You done? I'm sorry.
yeah, good.
Before we move on, you know that the Bills and Bengals playoff game last year, I think it was when they just came out and they just got dominated by Cincinnati there in Buffalo. Um, that game we saw a big blow up with Stephon Diggs, and I kind of thought it was going to be over then,
Mm.
his time there. And now you got Shakir kind of coming on. You still got Gabe Davis probably at a cheap price, and I can't remember the other receiver that they have that be out there making plays for them. But that could be something if they get a deal for Stephon Diggs, they might go ahead and take it and honestly move on from him. Secondly, um, yeah, that is something like I said that Bills fans do a lot. I can't remember if it was in that same divisional game last year with Bills and um, Bengals, or it was during the regular season last year. Because I don't know if you remember, they had to actually stop the game for well, they
Yeah,
tried
I
to
remember
stop
something like that. Yeah.
because they kept throwing football snowballs on the field. So that's something that's common up there. They're kind of like Philly fans are like rough and say what they want to out their mouth, and it seems like Buffalo fans just like to throw snowballs. And thirdly, just getting some breaking news that the Titans are finalizing a deal to make Brian Callahan their head coach. He's the offensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals. So it looks like we have our first hire from outside of the organization. Um, and usually, when that first domino falls, they all start to fall. So we'll see who else starts to make hires this week. So it looks like Cincinnati's offensive coordinator is headed to the Music City down there in Nashville to be their head coach.
Gonna get into the players of the week. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Brian, I'm gonna let you go first. So you got your offensive player of the week.
I'm gonna go with a guy I mentioned in the previous game we talked about, and the guy we'll be preparing for this week is Ravens. Isaiah Pacheco, the running back for the Chiefs, 15 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I think he, like you said, had a huge impact in this game. He also had a catch in the passing game. Um, so yeah, could have gone elsewhere, but I did like the gameplay of one Isaiah Pacheco. What about you?
I'm gonna have to give it to my guy Lamar Jackson, man. He had 252 yards total, and he had 2 touchdowns through the air and 2 touchdowns on the ground with a total touchdown. So Lamar Jackson definitely did his thing. All right, defensive player. Who you got for your defensive player award?
Being a Ravens fan and having guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, I love me a good linebacker and a good safety. I'm going to San Fran with Dre Greenlaw, 8 tackles, 2 pass defense, and 2 interceptions. For a linebacker, 2 interceptions in one game. Some guys don't have two all their career, and he had two in one game. So yeah, shout out to Dre Greenlaw with the 49ers. What about you?
Same. I got Dre Greenlaw as well, man. Great game, like you mentioned, all those stats right there. So yeah, Dre Greenlaw is my defensive player too. Special teams. Who you got for your special teamer?
Back to the Chiefs. Harrison Butker, perfect across the board, 3 extra points and 2 field goals, including a long from 47. Unfortunately, another guy we got to face this week. So, what about you?
You probably won't like this one. I mean, well, you guys won, so
Oh, yeah.
but Steven Sims, the punt return, the only touchdown for the Texans. So I gotta give it to the returner, Steven Sims. All right. bonehead play or call of the week. Brandon, I'm gonna let you go first. I feel like you might have mentioned it already. I could be wrong, but go ahead. Who you got?
Yeah, I think I briefly touched on it. Um, Let me pull something up real quick. It's John Harbaugh though. Um, it's John Harbaugh, my coach. He does it every so often. He didn't take his Flintstone vitamins Saturday afternoon before the game. He gonna call to pull out his red flag and challenge a catch. I can't remember what sideline the catch was on, but we had the game in the bag. It wasn't like they was gonna come back at that point. I want to say it was sometime around 5 6 minutes left in regulation. He throws the challenge flag on the catch. They didn't take any time reviewing that and saying that it was a completed catch. And we lost our second timeout. Again, game was in the bag. We didn't need the timeout, but it's like, come on, bro. Like, don't get in the, don't make these stupid plays. Don't make these stupid decisions that have haunted us earlier in the season and seasons past when we got a chance for the championship right now. So, him between that and it was like the final drive. I think it was the we was up 31-10, and he puts the starters back out on offense. Why is Lamar Jackson out there? Why is our offensive lineman out there? Um, our receivers, our starting receivers are out there when we're up by this point. You know what I'm saying? Anything can happen. And again, the game was in the bag at that point. Just go ahead and rest your starters. I know some guys like to be out there and want to play a complete game, but you the head coach. Put your foot down, make the smart move, live to see another game, and get your guys out, get them rested, and put your backups in. That's what you got them for. You got them just in case of an injury, and you got them for if you beat the hell out of somebody, and you know, just want them to finish out the game. So yeah, John Harbaugh, without a doubt. What about you?
Yeah, just before I go, it's funny. As soon as that challenge happened, you texted me and got my bonehead call of the week,
Mhm.
and I at this almost at the same time, I was like, "Why the hell Harbaugh challenged that?" We
Yep.
both were scratching our heads on that one. But I got to give it to my man Jordan Love for that late game interception he threw against the 49ers. Just not a good play. So yeah, my bonehead player of the week goes to Jordan Love for that pick he threw at the end of the game.
Which he's done that before during the season, so it didn't surprise me. I think I texted you that too. It's like he's done this. Yeah, Jordan Love
Yeah,
in the 2 minute offense is not. He don't make good decisions.
yeah, he's definitely going to have to work on that for sure.
Yep.
But all right, everyone, that is it for this edition or this episode of Breaking and Entering Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. And we'll get back with you guys for a preview of the conference championships. I can't wait for the games, everyone.
Yep.
Take it easy out there.
Peace.